Next on the F1 starting grid, we're going to preview Imola, as well as is Istanbul coming back this season? We'll have that next for you right here. On behalf of Mike Allen, I'm Brock Young, welcoming you into another edition of the F1 starting grid. It feels like so forever since we had a last race, almost like in a sense it was, Bahrain was last season and it felt so long.
Too long of a break for sure.
Honestly, Bahrain could be last season, you know, considering my points in the standings right now for a pick. So, I mean, I'm happy with that. So, Mike, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well.
Awesome, man. Chaz would not be with us this week. He'll be joining us next week. I have his picks, but first let's break down Imola right quick. It is a beautiful course. I'm glad it's back on the calendar. It has 19 corners. It was established in 1980, but it will have 63 laps. The current circuit right now is 4.9 in kilometers, and the record lap is a minute and 15 seconds. Now, another thing that is famous for, unfortunately, it is the famous is a track that where Senna lost his life back in 1993.
1994.
94, sorry. And he was on the pace of becoming the GOAT for Formula One. And I don't know if you remember that race too much, Mike, but that just hit.
I do. I remember that. Yeah. I remember the race, and it was a sad day because he was, I'm a Williams guy, and that was Team Williams. Mm-hmm. And, it's through the investigation, it was a mechanical failure. Mm. But what killed him is when the car hit the wall, the steering column punched him right in the face, and that's what snapped his head back and, ended his life. And it's unfortunate because, but it was bad in the fact that we lost probably one of the greatest drivers ever to take the circuit. But from that death, so many positive safety precautions and the reorganization of the drivers' union to stand up to, F1 and have the power to look at a race course and see the safety measures that are either have or have not been taken, and as a unit say, no, we're not going to race on that track. And they've done that a couple of times, where the safety, the safety precautions that were put in place by the promoters were not enough for the drivers. And then, of course, all the changes in the cars. These cars are is about as safe as any car ever driven in F1. And it's, we lost the F2 driver last year on a freak accident. He was hitting the side. Everything in the car was intact, but just one piece hit that sweet spot and caught him in the head, and that was it. And of course, in an open cockpit car, that's Indy actually has a semi-enclosed cockpit now with a windshield, and they sit down inside it with a hard plexiglass windshield. But with the safety precautions now in these cars, the drivers have never been safer, as evident in last year when Haas. What's his name?
Romain Grosjean.
Romain Grosjean, his car went into the barriers, burst into flames, and he was able to walk out of the car.
Yeah.
If that accident would have happened any other year, we'd have seen a dead driver. So the car protected him enough so he could get out of it, even though it was on fire. And that's a testament to the safety. A lot of those safety measures were put in place because of Senna's crash.
Well, it's unfortunate, but I'm glad to see that in place. But just imagine him still being alive today, what he could accomplish. Him.
Yeah, they'd be chasing him instead of Schumacher.
Yeah. Speaking of which, let's preview this race right quick. And before we get to our picks, do you see anything special coming out of this race? Like any surprises? Anything Like maybe for me, I think Yuki would probably finish higher than he did at Bahrain, honestly.
You know, I think Yuki's going to be in the top 10 again. He certainly has a chance to get on podium. I think he's gotten the butterflies out of his system. He's got that first race under his belt, and he came in P9, which is amazing for a rookie in that field. So I see good things out of that whole racing team, because if you think about it, the cars aren't that off the mark of the Red Bull A team's cars. They're pretty similar cars, and it's the same, the same manufacturer basically. Them being the second team and all, but I can see him in the top 10 again, possibly even P5.
Wow. I feel that the Red Bull and AlphaTauri are the closest teams per se as far as engine and actually competing with one another, other than like maybe McLaren and Mercedes, or Mercedes and Williams so far apart, or even Ferrari and Alfa Romeo are so far apart. But I think those two of Red Bull and AlphaTauri, as you said, because they're so close to one another, are the closest out of the teams, that share the same power unit. And P5, that's a pretty strong. I would say like P7 or P8, but I think AlphaTauri is very strong this year, though. Very strong this year, just like Red Bull. One thing I'll probably say, I just mentioned earlier, Alfa Romeo. I think they'll probably finish a little bit. I think they probably even finish in points. Probably in P9, P10. This is a track that's not really strong for them. This track is actually AlphaTauri's track. That's where they train on.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be a very strong track for them, but not. But unfortunately, I don't think too much of Williams right now. I'm sorry to say that, Mike, but it's going to be hard for them.
That was a huge surprise to me. I thought they were going to do better than that, especially with the qualification, with Russell getting into the top 15 at P10 or P11. And he wasn't that far off the pace. I mean, he was within 5 seconds of the pace, and he was driving that car he was trying to drive the paint off that damn thing. So I thought at least Russell was going to be in the midfield, but to have them right back down at the bottom, with their only saving grace being the totally inept Haas team, bringing up the rear 2 laps down. I mean, I wished it was better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm disappointed. My preseason fortune telling went awry, but it's only one race, so they could make the improvements, because one of the bad things about Williams in years past is they didn't improve as the season went along. So maybe they can improve. I still hold out hope. My Williams shirt is on order. It's coming in. So
let's talk about Ferrari here with their expectations for this race. I think it's they did a really good show in Bahrain. This is not Monza, but this is pretty close to it. So I think the Ferrari fans are going to be out. I think they might finish the same as Bahrain. Finish in points, finish good standings, like between 6th and 10th. What do you think from Ferrari this season, or this race right here?
They had a pretty strong start. They were in the upper mid range, and they certainly weren't the Ferrari of last year. Maybe they can make their improvements as they go. They were better than they were last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see them contesting for the constructors championship or anything. I think that's between Mercedes and Red Bull. But they're going to be better than last year, but still not back to the old Ferrari of dominance that they once were. Somebody ought to pick up the phone and call Fiat. I'm just saying.
Okay. Well, let's talk about this for a minute, because it made headlines late last week. We didn't get a chance to talk about it. Is Nico Hulkenberg coming back, but as a reserve driver and for Aston Martin? Even though you probably won't see him on this race, I mean, what does that say? I mean, Lance Stroll's not going to go anywhere. honestly. And we're all speculating here, but Lance Stroll's not going anywhere because of his dad. They put so much money into Sebastian Vettel that I don't think Seb's going to go anywhere anytime soon. But what's the chance of Hulkenberg getting into that spot for Aston Martin or maybe the other team by the end of the season?
You know, I'm surprised he didn't last longer in Indy. I mean, I don't know what happened over there. I haven't looked into it, but I mean, he's a good driver. He's a solid driver.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him being on the podium this year unless he gets on a team that can get a good car under him like anybody else. But I don't know. It was kind of a surprise to me that he was back in Indy. They're back in F1 from Indy. I thought he'd stick around there longer.
Yeah, so he was only there for about a season or so, and I don't know. It's just for one race, just one race in Bahrain, we saw Seb just went out and complaining about how he finished. I think Aston Martin has a problem on their hands with him, and I don't know why. Maybe that's why they got Hulkenberg, just in case, pay him out as Seb's contract and just fit Hulkenberg in there. He's a little bit younger, maybe fit the team a little bit better. I don't know.
Well, what you have is you have a grumpy old racer who once had a lot of success, who now doesn't have a lot of success. And I think what really hurt him psychologically is when he left the team that he won 4 championships with and went to Ferrari, thinking he was going to, do a Hamilton and just slide from McLaren to Mercedes and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen. I mean, of course, Ferrari didn't put a car under it, to be honest. But driving is mental, and I think he's beyond his prime. I think he's beyond his mental capacity to put together a race in his head to where he can get through it. And the number one clue, I guess, to that is like in any sport, when people start blaming other people or other things for their failings, I mean, mentally they've kind of checked out. And it's sad because Sebastian Vettel is one of my favorite drivers. He's got some of the best one-liners after the races back in the day. That he's a funny guy, and he's a fantastic. He will go down as a Hall of Famer in the sport, but I think right now is at the twilight of his career, and I don't think he's going to last the season, to be honest. I think it's going to take a couple of maybe DNFs, maybe a wreck or two, and he's going to be like, you know what, I'm done. I'm out of here. This is just not worth it anymore.
But you actually brought up a good point. Would it be him leaving, or would it be the team saying,
I think it'll be a mutual thing. I think he'll want to leave, but want them to get, one of those things. It's like, I want to quit, but I'd rather have you fire me type thing. That way you can be the victim, that way you can say, well, they fired me. I didn't quit. They fired me.
Well, once again, that's probably why
it's sad because I really liked him as a driver, and he is a 4-time world champion. So
he is.
You can't take that away from him.
You can't take any championships away. Well, you probably can, but but I guess it goes back to my point. It's like that's pretty much why they brought Hulkenberg in there.
Yeah,
fill in that spot just in case something does happen. Because said before, Lance Stroll's not going to go anywhere unless he wrecks out or something like that. God forbid. But if they have to replace a driver, even though Aston Martin spent so much money on him, they were going to replace Seb because they're expecting so much from him in so little time.
Yeah. Well, it's like, when you get that Hall of Fame quarterback that goes to your team, and in the first year he goes there, takes him to a Super Bowl. That doesn't happen a lot, except for last year. I'm just saying, it took Peyton Manning 2 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. love it. Absolutely love it. Well, before we dive into another issue we have from Mercedes, I want to get into our picks right quick, and that's Chaz. He has a number one this week. As a Mercedes guy, I'm kind of shocked at this. He has Max as number one, Lewis at number two, and Valtteri Bottas as number three. Now he has Mercedes 2 and 3, but kind of surprised he didn't put Lewis on top right there. And I guess he's coming around. I don't know. But Mike, what do you have for this week in Imola?
Verstappen number one. Should have won last week. He should have won last week. He made a mistake. That cost him the race. I bet you he's replayed that race in his head at least 1,000 times.
Yes.
So he was the better driver. He just couldn't get around Hamilton. He didn't have enough laps left. So Verstappen's number one. Number two, Bottas.
I'm afraid to ask who your number three is.
I'm going to get laughed at. But if he hadn't wrecked, he was P4 when he wrecked. And he was pushing for P3 to get on the podium. And he wrecked. It's my boy Pierre.
Ooh. Wow. And you don't have Lewis anywhere in your picks.
I could be way wrong, and I probably am.
Hey, that's okay.
I like to give people things to talk about. I don't think Lewis will get hurt, but I think he's going to retire. He was pushing his car. I mean, that's another reason why Verstappen's kicking himself, because Lewis's car was on its last legs. I mean, he was pushing that car for all it was worth, and that Red Bull car was running circles around him. And I got a DNF for Hamilton for mechanical failure.
Okay. Now, honestly, what Imola reminds me of is a little bit like Spa, where there's not too many long straights. There's quite a bit of curves in it. And that actually plays benefit to Red Bull. As you pointed out, Lewis was on his last legs with his car. He was trying to push as much as possible. I don't see him being number one this week. But I do see him finish. I see Max at number one, Lewis at number two, and I'm going to die on the hill again, Sergio number three. I still think he could finish on the podium. Now, with you and Mike, with you not picking Lewis, that probably gives myself and Chaz a chance to make up in the points. I don't know, but we'll see.
All I have to have is Lewis not the podium.
Yeah.
Verstappen and Bottas are going to be there.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Verstappen's going to take it. Okay.
Well, speaking about Lewis, we have an interesting story coming out of Mercedes right here that Toto Wolff wants Lewis signed by the summertime for next year. Now, Mike, you and I are on the same page here. Chaz is on a different assumption. We'll leave that alone. But both you and I think that this is going to be Lewis Hamilton's last year.
It is last year.
So I don't know where Toto Wolff is coming from, honestly. Maybe at Dreamland or something like that. He wants.
Well, you got a good thing. You want to keep it going. I mean, it's understandable, but Lewis has done everything. I mean, he has every single record. He's won more races than anybody. He's been on pole position more than anybody. He's got more fastest laps than anybody. He's got more podiums than anybody. He's got more races finished than anybody. And after this year, he's going to have more world champions than anybody. What else is there to do? I mean, what else is there to do? Move to Tampa Bay? I mean, what the hell? Go to Indy and be a world champion in Indy or NASCAR. Now, that would be awesome. If you went to NASCAR.
God.
Just whoop the shit out of everybody in NASCAR. That would be amazing. I would, oh, man. If my Bitcoin takes off and I can afford a team, I'm getting Hamilton in a NASCAR.
I
Powered by Ford.
I don't know where to take it from here. Okay.
Would that be awesome though? If you went to a NASCAR race like I don't know, Talladega, and just jumped in a car and just smoked everybody in Talladega.
Well, honestly, with NASCAR coming to Austin this year, he knows he's the only one that knows the track.
Yeah,
So
I'm telling you.
he already has an advantage on that point.
If you can rub a little bit more because those cars are a little more sturdy, and you can bump
Mhm.
and you can bump and shuffle and get in there and mix it up a little bit. It's not like your front wheel's going to snap off. Am I right?
Hey,
Hey, Rubbin's racing, right? Dick
Rub is
Trickle.
racing. There you
You know
go.
what Dick Trickle said? Rubbin's racing.
But I also want to talk about this too. This is pretty neat. On the same line as what we're talking about, that this is going to be Lewis's last year. Zak Brown came out a while ago and said that he sees Max as well as George Russell being with Mercedes next season.
Yeah,
Now,
George Russell, I can see. I don't see Max going to Mercedes, man. I just he doesn't have any reason to leave Red Bull. I mean, it's not like I mean, what reason would he leave Red Bull? He's got the superior car. He's right in the mix for the world championship. He's the spoiler. He's the one that's going to make Hamilton earn his eighth.
oh yeah,
And why are you going to leave a good team that knows you? You got the team chemistry. You got the car that you know. You got everything going for you, and go to Mercedes. It just doesn't make any. It doesn't make any business sense or logical sense to me. I don't know. Max might be thinking something else. I don't know. But
well,
Red Bull pays as much as Mercedes. There's no incentive for him to leave Red Bull and go to Mercedes. It's not like he's in the midfield and he wants to go to Mercedes to win. He's pushing for the lead right now.
he is.
In my opinion, in the superior car.
Well, you could make the same argument that why did Seb leave Red Bull? Because of money.
I don't know that either, but you saw it happen to him. So somewhere in the back of your mind, Verstappen's got to be thinking that same thing. If I leave my gig where I know everything and I'm familiar and go to an unknown, what's the purpose? And the only thing I can think of for a reason why is that Honda's leaving and Red Bull's taking over their own engine builds. That might be, and that's a stretch. To me, that's a stretch.
That is because it's going to be a very similar unit because Honda is helping out with Red Bull until
they're basically giving them all their specs. So
yeah.
sorry.
So well, let's talk about this right quick. This is interesting too. That Istanbul may come back on the calendar. However, to the detriment of either Canada or Brazil, because there's rumors that because COVID-19 cases are on a rise in both Canada and Brazil, that one of those two races would have to cancel, and thus Istanbul would come in its place. I want a 25 race season, so I don't want to see Canada going. I don't want to see Brazil going because those are two great tracks, especially since they missed last year too.
And it's sad that both those are on the chopping block because both those circuits are named after, Hall of Fame F1 drivers. Villeneuve in Canada, and of course Senna in Brazil, and those are two great venues. You're right. I don't know why there's still. I don't know why this whole COVID thing's even a thing anymore. To be honest with you, I think to use that as an excuse not to have a race, there's something else going on.
Well, there's plenty of holes in the calendar that you could fit that in without, canceling any races or anything like that.
Exactly. It's been 3 weeks since the last race. We could have plugged one in here, a couple of weeks ago.
Exactly. It felt so. I said before, this feels like
man, I need my F1, man. Come
on. To me, this feels like the first race of the season we're about to go into has been that long, honestly. But I mean, I'm briefly looking at the calendar right now. October, yeah, October is pretty much out because they're all jam packed together. But there's room in November. I mean, before you go to Saudi Arabia, there's room in December a little bit. So there's room on the calendar to fit something in there for Istanbul.
Without tanking another race.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Um, and there's room in June as well. So I mean, there's room out there. I just don't want to see it gone. In fact, I want to see Istanbul with Canada with Brazil in there, and I don't know. Well, speaking about Canada, the sprint races are on. They approved it, but there's a little changes from the last time we talked about this because the last time we talked about it with the sprint races, the top 8 finishes would get points, but now only the top 3 get points, including if you finish first, you only get 3 points. Second, 2 points, and the third gets only 1 point. Now,
and they're doing these sprints during the qualifying, right?
Well, actually, they're moving qualifying to Friday, and the qualifying will determine your start for the sprint races, and then how you finish with sprint races is how you start on the Sunday race. Now, they're only going to be 3 races, sprint races this season, including one in Canada. So, and Canada is just, I think, next month, I want to say. So I don't think at any plan right now to cancel Canada because of that. So that's good to see. And I want to see that. I want to see sprint races and I want to see races in Canada. So it's just, I was just hoping a little bit more from sprint races too. I like the idea of top 8 finishes get points, but now only top 3 get points and less points at that. And I mean, these teams are putting money together for these tires and stuff like that to put more wear and tear on the tires. And the same tires you start with the sprint races, which you're going fast with sprint races. You have to start on Sunday on those tires, same tires. And now there's talk also that F1 will compensate each team like $500,000 for tires and wear and tear on the vehicle, just in case they get in a wreck or whatever. But I guess I just got to see it. It works well with Formula 2. I guess
Well, it's exciting in Formula 2. And I think I'm like you. I want to see it. I want to see how the drivers react to it, really, and kind of get their take on it, and see if it's something that they want to do. Because in the end, it's up to the drivers, really. Do they want to have that extra wear and tear on their vehicles? I guess would be the only, and that's just an extra chance before the race to kind of screw your car up too.
Yeah. I mean, that's the point. It's like, they're actually discontinuing practice 3, moving qualifying to Friday, and the sprint races will happen on the Saturday beforehand. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunity to screw your car up too. And that's what they said too. They that's where the extra compensation will come in too, is for any tires, anything like if you broke a wing or any damage you get to your vehicle. That's where the extra compensation comes in. But still, I don't know. I just got to see how it works with F1. The drivers and the teams, most of the teams right now are in favor of this, so that's good. At least they're weren't ready to go for it, but we'll see. So any chance you're going to not pick Gasly at number 3? You sticking with Gasly?
Sticking with Gasly, man.
Okay.
Watch he gets P1 and nobody else finishes.
Well, there goes my pick again for the week. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, like last year when he won that race, Hamilton was out with a penalty, so he was out. Bottas crashed. Verstappen crashed. I mean, it's like,
man. I got to rethink my picks now, man. Appreciate that.
And Imola's tight. It's a tight course. and there's lots of, I mean, Hamilton is really good on those courses though, but
Yes.
I don't know. I think his car is going to fail him.
Well, said before, this is AlphaTauri's home race, and they've been practiced on it too. So it's I'd probably give an edge to AlphaTauri at least, going into this. So that's something.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, one thing we've got to mention is our Twitter poll from last week. 62% said yes, the Istanbul race will happen this season. So that's exciting to see. I want to see 25 races on the calendar this year. The most, yes, it's going to be more than any race prior, but still, I love it. I love to see this because it makes up for last season too.
Yeah.
But we got a new Twitter poll out right now. Go on our Twitter page at Form of Racing, and this is real exciting. I can't wait to talk about this next week. Is who will actually host the second United States race? Will it be Miami? Will it be Las Vegas? Will it be any other city? Now, Las Vegas and Miami are the top two. In fact, Miami is actually gaining steam, and they've been picking out some spots. And yes, what I want made happen as a road course.
Watkins Glen.
Watkins Glen.
Come on, New York, get your shit together.
Awesome. Well, there goes our monetization right there. Thanks, Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm picking it. But
you can beat that out, right?
Can we? No, we can't. We're not that good. But that's for next week. I cannot wait to discuss that, as well as our picks. We're going to review Imola and see what happens, and maybe, hopefully, I can make up some points over the weekend. Fingers crossed on that. But in the meantime, follow us on Twitter at Form of Racing. We got a new Facebook page out there as well. And if you have a topic for us, this is the forum. This is open to everybody. theformofracing@gmail.com. We will welcome that email. But we'll see you next time right here on the Form of Racing.